Welcome to the Military Historian Podcast. I'm Lloyd Shellenberger. I'm your host. Thank you for tuning in. Hi, this is the Military Historian Channel, and I'm Lloyd Shellenberger, your host. We have a really exciting guest today as part of the Left Behind series. His name is Omar Al-Abase. He has a story I think every American should listen to. It is perhaps one of the most moving stories I've ever heard, and I'm not going to waste any more time. I want to get right to him. Hi, Omar. How are you doing today?
Oh, wonderful today. Trying to enjoy the weather's being nice. And
Yeah, we're in Minneapolis right now.
Yeah, we sure are.
But you know that that's where you live in that area, so it's to you it's no big deal.
Yeah, no, enjoy it. I love Minnesotan. I'm a Minnesotan 100%. I would say I love the outdoors, love the lakes, love
you are
being a Minnesota Vikings fan too. So yeah.
Oh yeah, well I purposely didn't wear my Green Bay today because of that.
That's a good thing. You don't want to see me
angry. I don't want to mess with you. No, we're not going to do that. Explain to me what exactly happened to you and your family in Iraq, and our connection, and Grant Wills and Shane Becker's connection to you. What happened, first of all, in Iraq in 2004, in 2005?
Well, it's a lot that happened in 2005. My dad got killed by a terrorist group, and we had to flee the country for our safety. And for me, there was a bounty on my head through the terrorist group because I know who killed my dad, and luckily I don't know to this day how I survived because I was with him when he got killed, but luckily amazing military group that Shane and Grant were part of, and Shane was Dad's best friend and was able to support us and get us out of the country as fast as they can, and getting over to the green zone, which you come in and were there with us.
Pomeroy.
Yep. Earl Pomeroy and everybody else, but you were there saw us, met us, and were able to get us to the airport safely. You know, that was a learning since we were in.
That was not a fun day.
No, that was a very traumatic day for my mom and I. I mean,
we refused to give up even on your way out, which I did not believe.
I like I said, it is crazy to think about. How am I still alive? How am I still doing what I'm doing? And I think there's like we talked about earlier, there's a higher power. I'm meant to be here, meant to serve my duties, meant to be, have a wife, have kids, and have the life that I have, which I call it. People look at me and they're like, okay. I said, I'm living the American dream right now. And because what happened in 2005, meeting you, having Shane and Grant do whatever they can in their power to get us here, and they did that. And I'm thankful for that.
We're thankful for you being here. This is a part that's kind of hard, but I'm going to ask you to walk through that day that your father was killed. Walk through that from the beginning of leaving the house to what happened. I don't think people fully understand just how brutal the insurgency was.
So that day, like I said, it was a very traumatic day, and I don't wish it on anybody else to experience it. And like I said, to this day, it's still feels like it's a bad dream. And you're trying to think about it, and you're like, no, you were there for it. You witnessed this. You did this, and I don't know how I'm not traumatized or how I'm not have these things mess up my brain. But like I said, due to whatever it is, higher power or the people around me that help me work it out the best way I can and make me feel like I'm welcome. So that day, start to it, Dad and I said, hey, come with me. We're gonna go shopping and go for a drive. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's do that. So we hopped in the car. We went and picked up groceries, and he's like, hey, do you want to go to somewhere? And I'm like, yeah, let's do that. So we're driving on the highway, and 20-mile down the click, there was road bomb, I'd say. So they had the road blocked, whatever. So we're like, oh, we'll just take this frontage road, head to somewhere. It's a little bit of a shortcut too. And we're driving for probably for 5-10 minutes, and before that we noticed that there was a car following us, but they ended up passing us. As we turned, they passed us, and like, okay, like nothing to do with it, whatever. There was no speed limits back home.
And your dad was very aware of his surroundings because
He is.
had multiple assassination attempts at that point.
He was, and so my dad carries a 1911 pistol.
Oh.
Yeah. He gives the AK to me. I had to learn how to use guns at a very young age.
Yeah, I heard that.
And he gave the AK to me, so we always have the AK loaded, fully loaded, action open, just in case something decide to happen. And so we were driving on this road down to Samara, and two people came out of this car that passed us, and they start shooting. I pull the AK out, start shooting at them, and my dad kind of pulled me down, shoved me down by his feet, and took the AK from me and started shooting at them. To this day, because I had my head kind of kinked back looking at him by his feet, and I can see every single bullet that struck my dad in the vehicle. And I can imagine the blood that was spraying on me from him.
How many times was he hit?
He was hit about 26 times when we took him to the hospital, and that's they told us. And he
was already dead at that point, correct?
No,
He was
still alive. I can remember it to the day because they stopped shooting for a few seconds, and Dad was. And I don't tell this to anybody, but my dad looked at me and he's like, "Take care of your family."
Wow.
And I still get goosebumps from it now. I
He
don't
knew.
tell it.
He knew.
I still, every time I say that, and I've only said it to one person, was my wife. And he looked down at me and he says, "Take care of the family."
And then he fell over top of you to cover you, didn't he?
His leg was, so the blood, he got shot in the thigh and the blood sprayed on my face. And they pulled him out of the car and shot him in the head right in front of me. I don't know how I'm alive to this day. I don't know. They could have easily shot me there. I know I was frozen. And so they pulled out, did their, shot him in the head and shot him a couple more times. And I knew exactly who did it because my eyes were wide open, but I don't know if they thought I was dead.
Were you looking out at the...
I was looking at Dad like this as he was sitting in the driver's seat. I was in the passenger seat. It's a single cab Silverado.
Wow.
Looking at him, and they pulled him out of the car, dragged him out, shot him in the head, and because of all the blood on me, they thought I was dead. The reason I say that, because after the whole fact, there was a bounty on me because I saw who killed my dad.
Was that 18,000, if I remember correctly, right?
Correct. Yep. So that's kind of the whole continue of the story. And then I got out of the car as they left. Was able to move. And
You knew he was dead when you looked at him.
imagine a little kid, your dad has fallen down,
Yeah.
and you don't know that he's dead or not.
Okay.
Because as you're a little kid, you don't just trying to wake him up.
That concept doesn't get to you yet.
I'm trying to wake him up, trying to move him, and to this day I can hear the air escaping out of his body. And what it sounds, it's so hard to explain.
The last breaths he knew he was taking.
I hear it as I talk about it. I imagine it. it's the type of breath that it's like a humming, deep humming noise, like you can hear it.
Agonal breathing?
I can feel it
Yes.
because my face was right next to his and trying to shake him and move him. And so that happened. I was with him sitting next to him. Another patrol unit, a U.S. military patrol unit, heard the shooting. They came to investigate and saw me and my dad. And one of the soldiers pulled me out. He was a translator. Pulled me out and was trying to get me to look away. And I kept talking to him, like, wake up my dad. Like, get him awake. I want my dad.
He's not
like,
dead yet.
Yeah, because as a kid, that didn't get registered in your mind. Like, yes, my dad had been shot before in the past, a long time ago. So it's not registering in my mind that, hey, your dad is gone.
Right.
To that day, they tell me that he's gone. Like, he's gone. He's dead. He's no longer with us.
Mm-hmm.
And still shocked. Still doesn't process. And so the Iraqi soldiers military group, which was very close to my family, they're kind of my dad and my mom are very welcoming people.
Right.
They accepted whoever they want to the family.
Mm-hmm.
So they grabbed those Iraqi guys. They knew me because they were stopped at our house before. So they had to take my dad to the hospital to get processed throughout the whole thing, and they're like, come with us. So I sat with them in their pickup, and they loaded my dad in the back of the pickup, and we drove from Samara to Tikrit, which you might have exact time of how long that is.
I don't know, but
it was probably like
it
40.
estimated about 2 hours, an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Give or take on that, yeah. And to that day, I had to sit like a little kid, a 13, 14-year-old, on the chair on the back, holding the back seat, looking in the truck of the bed, seeing my dad
Hoping
laying
he
there,
would sit up and everything would be okay.
hoping that he would move.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
Nope, did not happen. And everything that goes to my mind as that happened is my siblings okay? Because if they said my dad is dead, they're coming after my family.
Yes.
What do I need to do? What can I do?
To protect him.
Yes, and it was very hard. So the first day they told my mom I was dead with my dad. So my mom didn't know that I was alive for her.
Why did they do that?
They didn't know. On the radios they said Majid and his son are dead.
Wow.
And so mom and my siblings thought I was dead.
And you're close to your mom.
Very. My mom and I are... There's nothing in the world that could separate us. I would give my life to my mom if I can. My mom is heaven for me. If anything happens to my mom, I would be lost without her.
She's a brave woman.
She is. She's amazing. If it wasn't for her, I won't be who I am today. She's an amazing person. Her and I, so continue to that with mom. So we get to Tikrit, and they told us, we dropped out at the hospital, they processed him, and the soldiers took me back to my mom. And that night, I got to see mom. She was crying. She didn't know, I was alive, and there's more stories of my siblings telling you how that process goes because I wasn't there for her.
Right.
But yeah, no, she was. Her and I, when I got back, her and I just kind of late at night, and that night was a very bad night because Shane and his group were fighting back, or I don't know if it's a different infantry. I can't remember that night.
I think it's 124th up there.
Yeah, they were fighting back against terrorists that was trying to come to our house that night. But Mom and I sat together. We said, "Your dad is gone, and from now on, we need to take care of the family. You and I. Nothing gonna stop us in the whole world."
Wow.
And it's been my mission.
Yeah.
To support, to work, to do whatever I can for my siblings, and there's nothing in the world that I can't do for them. Whatever they needed, I'm there. Whatever they wanted a car, I'm the one who bought them a car, even though I didn't have a car. They wanted a phone, you can have my phone. They wanted this. To them, I became a dad, and the youngest was calling me dad for the longest time.
Would it be safe to say that after your father died, you no longer were a son more than a father at that point now?
That's very well said. I mean that's how you could say it, because I was working to provide for my family since my dad died. I still am. In a ways, not saying that they give them money or anything. They can provide for themselves, and my siblings are very well smart, very well talented, very hardworking.
But you were a leader. I saw that the night I met you guys. Your relationship changed with your siblings that night, and from that point on, because you had to take on a different role, right?
Right. It has changed. My siblings and I relationship has been different throughout our life. Even when Dad was around. I was, as the oldest back home, you tended to be, if Dad's gone, you're in charge. And that's how I grew up. And to think about it, there is a lot of pressure on that person to make sure family's safe, to make sure the family has food, to make sure everybody has food.
Right.
And that's why I end up working with Dad and trying to provide for the family. That's how I'm raised. That's what I need to do, and I grew up working with Dad. I never went to school as much as I'd like to, because Dad always needed help to provide for the family, and I was there. And my relationship with my, back home we have different ways to discipline kids. And when Dad would discipline the youngest ones, I would step in and push Dad. It's my fault, it's not theirs. So as we grow up, my siblings and I always have that bonding relationship since they were youngest.
You're their father, protector, a whole other list of things.
Yeah. I'm very proud of my siblings. There's beyond words that how proud I am, each and one of them, and what they overcome and what they're currently seeing them grow.
What are their names? Tell me all their names.
Youngest one, we call her April, and she's named after one of the soldier
attending nurses, yes.
Attending nurses. And earlier a question was asked to me, what made you feel like these soldiers are part of your family? As we were walking around talking to different guys, and I said, the first thing that I felt comfortable with them, when they got over to our house, they weren't on their guns. They weren't on patrol. They had their armor down. They had their guns put aside. They were playing with us. We felt like they were part of our family. And when the nurse would check on Mom, it felt like she cares about my mom. And so that's why we named her April, which her name is Zahra. And the second youngest one is Esra. And we have Thar, and his name stands for revenge.
Okay.
And we have Z. We call him Z, short for Zuhair. We have Ahmed, and my sister, and then me, Omar. So,
Okay.
yeah,
You got a big family.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do. And if it wasn't for, I don't know. I think I take. They give me a lot of credit, my siblings and my family does, for doing what I did. And they say you sacrificed a lot, and I said, I didn't do it alone.
Right.
We all sacrificed a lot.
Your mom was, from what I read of her, was incredible.
She is.
And she told, and she, from what and correct me if I'm wrong, what I read about her, she literally worked herself almost to death to provide for everybody.
She did. She has a pacemaker now.
Yeah.
Yeah, she had heart problems. I mean, she had 2 shifts at one time, and at home, it would be me and my sister taking care of the youngest ones. We would sit down, do homework with them, or sit down or do other stuff with them. We stepped up. We all stepped up. I can't take all the credit, that I was there. I was their provider. No, everybody stepped up, which is the kids' behaviors. They all were wonderful. They didn't act out. They didn't do anything. We're all very close family to make us like, hey, you'll be all right.
Right, and we got to work together here.
Yeah, and everybody worked together, chasing that dream, and took us some time, but we did get it.
How did Grant Wills, Angie, Shane Beckard, and Melissa, how did they impact you as with their influence on you? What kind of influence did they have on you?
So Shane and Grant and Melissa, I see him as, Shane was Dad's best friend. Shane was the person who met Dad on the side of the road,
Yeah, where
Dad,
when he found he had an AK-47 in his truck, and your dad told him, "I have to have one, considering where we're at. Relax."
Yeah, and Dad was amazed by that duct tape, work, because we didn't have duct tape back home. So imagine what the duct tape could do.
Yeah.
And he was amazed, and Shane was able to help him on. Didn't see him as an Iraqi bad person. He saw a nice guy on the side of the road with his kids.
Did he fix the truck for him that day?
So the drive shaft fell off on the Silverado, and my dad, the U-joint on it, my dad had to put the U-joint back, duct tape it until he can get it home.
It worked?
And that duct tape held.
So they fixed it on the side of the road, right? Yeah. Because if I remember correctly, he did not want to be out there after dark.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
So he drove back in his truck, and the guys followed him.
Yeah.
Make sure he got back, and then they fed you guys. You fed the guys afterwards.
Yep. It's our appreciation. Hey, thank you for helping. My dad was saying, hey, thank you for helping me on the side of the road with my kids. Here's.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's how the relationship started. It's crazy, but yeah, I still laugh every time I would hold the duct tape in my hand. I laugh because I'm like,
that's a secret that, once you figure that out, you don't need any tools.
Yeah, as long as you got a duct tape and a hammer, that's all you need.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the biggest questions to me, and I think I already know this, but what's the most important thing to you?
Family.
Yeah, I figured that.
There's nothing else in the world that's important to me as my family.
You love your country though too, don't you?
I love my current country.
I got that about you. You
I
love America.
Like I said, some of my friends call me the Iraqi redneck. And the reason I love to hunt, fish, love the outdoors, love supporting my country any way I can, and I'm proud to be an American.
And you're so proud to be an Iraqi too.
I am. I'm proud. I'm proud enough to have it tattooed on myself.
And you earned it.
Yep. Like I said, chasing the American dream gave me what I have today, and I can't imagine myself not having that.
I guess one of my questions that I would love the viewers to say, because we both know how you feel about the 141st Soldiers.
Yeah.
They stepped up when you needed them. But what would you like people to know about your dad and your mom?
Mom and dad, they didn't see the current soldiers as being the enemy of Iraq, like most families in Iraq has done that.
Mm.
They felt like those people, like part of our family, they were just the genuine human beings. Like my dad would, before he met Shane and Grant, he would hear from these people like, hey, there's gonna be a roadside bomb. He would just go stop at the base and be like, hey, there's gonna be a roadside bomb on this side of the road. Don't take it.
Don't take it.
And they would offer him anything. He won't take it. He didn't care about the money.
Wow.
Dad didn't care about the money. He didn't care about. He generally just
Wanted people not to be killed.
He just wanted to save lives. He just wanted to be there. Yeah, he wasn't there for the money. I mean, like you and I, we could go in details of all the things that him and I did, but it's
that's one thing I do wanted to. I want the viewers to understand here. I mean, he didn't just talk; he lived it, and he would go out and actively search the intel. And I'm going to ask you to tell them how he did it.
It was a very scary world. To think about, it was just telling the intel by hearing it from people. No, Dad and I have seen beheadings, seen people get tortured, seen people get cut in half. And as a 13-year-old, I don't know how I dealt with it then.
I don't know how you
I think it was my new norm, like, hey, this is normal.
You can get used to anything if no matter how bad it is, if that's what you see every day.
Correct. And God, I can't even imagine showing my kids anything that's bad, A scary movie that I want to learn much. But anyways, we lived through it all. You can imagine the worst, right?
I can imagine the worst, but I can also to let the viewers let you know. He isn't just blowing smoke here. I'm going to tell you something to the viewers. I'm going to have him explain what his dad needed him and his brothers to do out in the Samarran ranch when bad guys showed up. Could you tell them what happened when that happened?
So I was saying earlier, we're talking about learning how to use a gun at a young age, and Dad wasn't afraid of that to teach us how to use the gun. And the reason is because when Dad would be gone, we need to step up. And I can give you an example of one time. Dad and Mom my mom had for my youngest sister Esra to get checked out. She was pregnant, and terrorists came and they started shooting in our house. And there is my 12-year-old me with an AK-47 on top of the roof shooting back at them.
Wow.
And if you can imagine it, 300 yards away.
300 yards away?
300 yards away. Shooting back and forth, 12-year-old me, and then there's my youngest brother, Ahmed.
Ahmed was there doing his work.
Ahmed was there doing his work. Z was there loading up a clip as he was a little young kid loading up an AK bullet, and then Ahmed would hand it to me, and we shoot him back and forth. And
shove the magazine in and get it.
Yeah, I learned how to do that at a very, very young age, and learned how to be. And he was very good about gun safety. When he was a military guy. So
did he fight in the Iraq-Iran war?
He fought in the Gulf War.
In the Gulf War.
Yep. I don't know if he did fight in the Iraq-Iran war. He probably was 17 years old at that age.
He probably didn't. But although Saddam took a lot of young conscripts at that time.
He did. My dad got tortured.
Yes.
From 1990 till the day he died. My dad had, going back to your question earlier about tell you about dad and mom,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what my dad did for us. And there's a reason, like the Sunnis and Shias that started. My dad fell in love with a Shia girl. He was a Sunni guy. And he was a part of the military group, but it's a forbidden thing. You don't do that.
Right.
Dad would get his nails removed, go in jail for a year, get mom pregnant, disappear,
Right.
take him back to jail. And he'd be missing nails.
Daggers being shoved, if I remember correct,
Yeah.
into his knees and stuff like that.
Yep. He one time got in back of the pickup around town, saying he's a traitor for marrying a Shia. They shaved him bald, handcuffed him, and tortured him throughout the town to see the whole area. And he lived through it. He went into jail many times because of his siblings. Telling, hey, talk shit about Saddam Hussein. And they would throw him in jail back again. And continue like stuff about his siblings. We could talk about my life story for hours and hours and hours. Just to kind of give a little overview over my life. I witnessed a lot of stuff. I got kidnapped by my uncles on my dad's side.
That was a few days after your father's death, correct?
Yeah, the next day
The
after
next
my
day,
day.
That would have been 17th.
Yep. And there's just, we can sit here for many hours and just talk about this. And yeah, been kidnapped, been shot at, been, bombs blowing next to us.
Because they used to try to mortar your house, is
Yeah.
that correct?
Yep. I mean, there's a good story. I know I'm all over the place with this because there's so much to tell. It's so
No, I
much
know, you
to
can't.
experience, and you can't really do it. It's, like one time my siblings, the boys, and I and my dad were riding back from Tikrit to Samara, and a car passes us, slows down, goes behind us, and they came next to us and start shooting. And that,
Even with the kids in the car.
even with the kids in the car, correct? Yeah, and yeah, you can ask my siblings. They'll tell you that happened. Because it was crazy. But I mean, like
That
you
was
tell
in 2004, am I correct?
Yeah,
Right, and that would have been after, and I'm just trying to get a time frame here. It would have been after March of 2004.
correct. Yeah,
Because you didn't meet Grant and them until March of 2004.
Yep.
And from March to November, they worked with each other, which they picked up the attacks between that time, correct?
Yep. The attacks started growing and growing, and stuff started happening. But yeah. So we had this family, like in our house, which was helping this United States Army, at that point, and one of them got taken away, and as soon as he got taken away, the videos that everybody have watched, what the ISIS would do is beheading, or
By the way, explain to the audience here. There was a way that they would do these type of things, and oftentimes they do them CDs in open air.
correct, yeah.
Is that what they did with him?
Yep, and that's what they did with that guy. They put him on a CD, threw it around town, and he said all the names that helped the U.S.
And you guys were on that.
And Dad was the last name he mentioned, and they beheaded him on a CD, and Dad and I saw that, and that's when
You knew.
Dad knew that he had to do whatever he had to do to get us to safe.
Get you out of the country.
Get us
because
out of the
They
country.
would never let you live.
No, and he paid the price.
Yes, he did.
He did, and
I'm
Yeah.
sorry about that because you were right in the middle of that when he paid it.
yeah, it's a very hard world. It's a very, like I said, we could talk about this
for hours. But
Hours and hours. You could
I think the
just
brutality was very obvious
Yeah.
for people. The other thing that I'm really picking up about you right now. First, I'm going to ask this question because this is really important, and it's important to everybody else. What do you want them to remember about your dad?
I want him to remember. The first thing that comes to my mind is remember his smile. That's just like if I remember Dad, like remember his smile. But I want him to remember as the best dad in the world. Did whatever he could with the little he had to help the U.S. Army, to help his family. That's all I want him to know about my dad. Whatever he did, he didn't care about money. He didn't care about the best car he can ride or the best clothes he can. He cared about saving lives and saving his family from worst case scenario. And I want my kids to know about him. I want my kids' kids to know about him. And I want the whole world to know about him because he'll always be a hero to me and to my family.
Omar, I want to thank you for being with me today. I have one last final question. Are you happy with where you're at?
I'm living the American dream. So
Well-
to that American dream, I could not be any happier. I have 3 kids pretty soon. I got a
Congratulations.
house. I have the best family around me. I have the best supports. My in-laws, my siblings, my brother-in-laws, and everybody else.
Well, that's it for this particular episode of the Letters from Baghdad series, Left Behind. And I want to thank Omar Al-Abase for being here today. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. That's it for the Military Historian Podcast. I'm Lloyd Shellenberger, your host. Tune in for more podcasts on the PNN Academy. Thank you.